Good morning, everybody. It's Jillian. I woke up this morning, took my dog out, and looked up and saw all these birds just flying around, and it looked like little bats. So the bats and the robins and the squirrels are all kind of living together in my backyard, and it's just so adorable. So, anyways, so yeah, this whole thing with this COVID, I woke up really early this morning and I was listening to CNN. And I listen to CNN because they do give a lot of focus on the COVID. I mean, now that the riots are kind of done with, the COVID is now the leading headlines all over CNN. I'll listen to Fox occasionally, because I know that it'll be a very pro-Trump aspect, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes I want to have a balance of both because I can only hear so much pro Trump before I got to hear the other side and hear two sides of the same story. So, anyways, and then here in Ohio, DeWine is still giving us statistics on who is, or the rate of infection and the rate of death from COVID. And I'll tell you what, it's been right on. Like my dog and myself are almost like the canaries in the coal mine because when after the riots were done and we're starting to open up Ohio, my dog was still in some adaptation feelings. And so I'm like, okay, something's in the air. And then I started feeling tired. But luckily, I've been through all the symptoms of COVID for the most part. I felt almost everything that they have put out there as far as symptoms that are specifically for COVID. And so this last mutation where my dog felt something, I felt something, it was only fatigue. Okay? Which means that, yeah, only fatigue, that's pretty good. Okay, now if you were to, let's say like 3 months ago, I would say that what I was feeling was far more severe, which means that I had more of a severe infectious strain. Okay, so your level of symptoms will tell you your level of health. And healthier people will have less severe strains, which means that they're the ones that are going to you're going to want them to spread around a lesser strain than those that are really, really, really sick. Okay? And so that's the same thing as the vaccines. Okay? When it comes to wearing masks and all of that, those that are sickly, those that have diagnosable disease, those that are very symptomatic need to wear a mask or they need not to leave the house because yes, they will be very contagious. And so if we're going to do a herd immunity, which is the whole point of vaccines, getting a lesser version of the same strain, you're going to want the more healthier people who might have, a few symptoms or be asymptomatic. You want them wearing no masks because at least they'll spread around a lesser version of the virus versus somebody who already has diagnosable diseases and symptomatic spreading the virus around. The people who are sick in our society will have the more aggressive strains because that's the nature of more aggressive strains is more aggressive symptoms. Okay, so in actuality, people on the J juice with a lesser version of the symptoms are probably going to be the healthier ones, but it just depends on where you are. I mean, in the process of healing, because you could have a lot of viruses come to surface, a lot of antibodies come to surface. Now, viruses you never can get rid of altogether, but you could have a bunch of antibodies on its way out the door, and you'll be very symptomatic, which means you'll be very communicable, which is why those who are on the J juice are still going to be, infectious until they get rid of the excess antibodies. Because remember, too many antibodies will result in a diagnosable disease or thickening of the blood or other types of issues, which is all diagnosable diseases, okay? So why J juice is so amazing with COVID is because it's going to allow you to get rid of the excess mucus if you have weak lungs, and that way you don't drown in your own fluids, okay? You don't drown in your own mucus and your own stuff. So anyways, so that's the point of vaccine. So since we don't have a vaccine yet, and I actually do have shares, I have like 12 shares in Inovio, which is actually, exploding right now. Inovio, I bought it at 10 bucks a share and also 14 bucks a share. And now it's at like 30 bucks a share. So it's going up. And the vaccines is supposed to give you a lesser version of the virus. What people are afraid of are all the stuff in the microbiome that they've been told is to be scared of. They're scared of mercury, scared of, different parts of the microbiome and the elements. But you take in mercury in your food supply, you take in all the different elements in a combination of stuff in everything that you do. Your breathing, wearing the clothes, just the food you eat, whatever. So, but that's the whole point of the vaccines, is to give you a lesser version. So no different than when somebody's basically sick who may test negative for the antibodies, but still have antibodies that you still can be communicable. Asymptomatic doesn't mean that you don't have the antibodies. It just means that you're not reacting from them. You've adapted to them, which means that you're relatively well, which means that people want to catch it from you versus someone who is really sickly, who has all these issues, and then they get a more severe version of it. Okay? And so this is like a roundabout way to justify why the vaccine industry exists. Okay? And why it is that, not everyone should be wearing masks. Because I don't see a point in me wearing a mask. Why would I compromise my health for somebody else when I'm already healthy? Why would I do that? Why would I compromise my health? If I'm already healthy and someone needs a lesser version of the virus so they can adapt. Because remember, if you don't have any immunity, you're going to have complications when you do get exposed. Okay? And so at this point, why they say do the social distancing and why they wear the masks and why you need to stay home and all that stuff is because they don't want a whole deluge of a virus being then thrown upon a person who has a very low immunity. It has to be done incrementally, just like J juice. You don't take a whole gallon all at once. Okay, you have to get your body used to the transition of the new environment. Well, no different with the COVID, You got to have a transition, a slow transition to the COVID. So that's why they say, if you can avoid going outside, avoid doing it if you're that susceptible, and maybe bring one or two people around you that are asymptomatic so you can get exposed to a lesser version. And then, you're going to get a little bit sick or a lot depending upon your issue, but you might survive it. And so right now they're saying that 20-year-olds to like 49-year-olds here in Ohio are being affected by the COVID because, the social distancing is not happening. People are hanging out together and it's almost like it doesn't exist. Okay. And so you're seeing now people reacting to a large amount of virus, a stronger strain, because you're around a bunch of people that's mutating, and then a person who doesn't have really a strong immune system, even though they seem relatively healthy. But remember, kids are born with predispositions that you don't even know about, and they don't even know about until they get exposed to something new in the environment, and then they have to transition. And some people do overreact. Good morning, Eve. And some people do overreact, and they're like, oh my God, I have this, and they go and they get all these different medications that then further compromise their immune system. And so the thing with the J juice is that I have somebody that has an actual YouTube channel that talked about being on the J juice, and she has cardiovascular issues and she has other issues, and she's dealing with the COVID, and she could hardly barely breathe and hardly barely walk when she made her first video of making the Jilly juice. And then she did other videos thereafter where she was getting stronger. And now her outlook on her home business with her husband is like now totally different, because before, with all of her cardiovascular issues and then dealing with the COVID, it was deteriorating her very, very quickly. Because yes, if you already have major predispositions and you get exposed to the COVID, you're going to go downhill very, very quickly. And so if you're going to apply all these antibiotics to a body that's already going downhill, you're going to be taking away life force from you systematically. And so J juice is a life force because it's a live drink. It is a live recipe that you are concocting and you are fermenting in your own kitchen. And it has the lactobacillus, which the byproduct is lactic acid. So it has probiotics. It has the salt, which you get your electrolytes and the minerals, and you have the nutrition from the cabbage and kale that's broken down to a pre-digested state. And then you're drinking it. And so the pieces are very fermented. And so that way it's for easier digestion, and the cells swallow it up. The cells are absorbing all of that nutrition, and it's energizing your body to get rid of the excess and repair the damage at the cellular level. And so this is where you could potentially regain your life back and not die from the COVID. But you do have to feel, different healing symptoms, because all symptoms is the body trying to heal, and then you're not giving it what it needs. Okay? And so since we don't have a vaccine now the only way to get a very slow immunity is to either do social distancing or stay inside and only see 1 or 2 people at a time, not like a whole crowd, so that way you don't get a whole deluge on a body that's weak. Okay? And then when finally they have a vaccine available, which I'm hoping that it'll be soon, but I do have shares in this company called Inovio, and it seems pretty promising. That will then give people a little bit of sigh of relief that they can have now a transition to the new environment without compromising their lifestyle. Now, of course, if you have major predispositions, your exposure to any virus as well as a vaccine, it's going to be dicey because you already have predispositions. But it's like the odds of somebody really having a major horrible reaction to any vaccine is slim to none if you are seen by a right doctor who says whether or not you're appropriate for this vaccine or not. And what makes a person not appropriate for a vaccine? When they have a lot of predispositions that it could have a potential conflict. Okay? But nothing's ever 100%. Some people will say, oh my God, she got all these red marks, and that they think that's a horrible thing, right? Not necessarily. That's the body trying to adjust to a new environment. But that's how people have to look at symptoms. Symptoms are the body's trying to adapt to a new environment, and you have to keep giving it what it needs. Okay, so even when you take a vaccine, you do the J juice to help with the transition, to support the body to then, when the body's going through a mutation, which is adjusting to the new environment, it needs to repair at the cellular level to then support the changes. Okay, it's when people don't support their body at the cellular level and they get either a vaccine or exposed to a virus, their body adapts to a very cattywampus biochemistry. And if you're already born with predispositions, it's like you're just exacerbating what you already brought into the world. Because remember, your body's going to adapt to the conditions that you have allowed it to become. All right? And so the whole J juice is just understanding what mucus is, understanding what symptoms are, understanding that it's all an adaptation process. The English language has a way to compartmentalize and bring people together. There's so much available with the J juice that I can only talk about certain aspects of it, because if I talk about every aspect of it, I'll be on this for 3 or 4 hours. So that's why I have a lot of videos, that way you can see every aspect of J juice, how it impacts and benefits the body and the mind and the spirit, and how they can align each with each other. Okay, so yeah, if you've been diagnosed with COVID, all right, and now you're like, well, what the hell do I do? Yeah, they say you stay home, but don't do antibiotics. But hey, if they say do antibiotics, fine, and do the J juice at the same time. Because if you're going to take away life, you might as well give life back to your body, and hopefully you have more life you're giving to your body than taking away. But then what about probiotic supplements and probiotic drinks? And you're seeing them all over the TV and the commercials, and strictly just probiotics without the right chemistry involved with it would give you lactic acidosis. That's too much lactic acid. Like, oh yeah, kombucha apple cider vinegar. No, that's the sugar and the milk and the straight probiotic strains, and the lactic acid will cause lactic acidosis. You need to have the balancing force of the salt. Okay, when a runner is running and they have so much cramping and lactic acid, guess what? What kills off the lactic acid buildup? It's the salt. It's the electrolytes. Okay, I've done my research on knowing what the balancing force to excess lactic acid, because you see the pendulum's always swing the other way when people are like, oh yeah, they're taking too many antibiotics, and now you got to switch to probiotics. And probiotics is like the most sold thing out there in biotech, because biotech compartmentalizes all the different parts of the microbiome and figures out what causes people's symptoms, and then they try to eradicate, take it out, scoop it out, do whatever. And then the pendulum is always swinging the other direction, and it go from one extreme to the other. And that's why people are so imbalanced, because you take too many antivirals and antibiotics, antimicrobials, or they're putting so much probiotics in their system without a balancing force of the chemistry, and it's causing more imbalances. And then it overfeeds some of the entities in your microbiome, and now you have an overabundance of yeast, which is now candida, and then you have other issues that go along with that. And then that's where they sell you all these different solutions. Oh, here's a candida cleanse. Oh, here's a parasite cleanse. Here's a microbial cleanse. Here's a detox. Here's this. And then people are systematically destroying their body over time, causing more imbalances. Okay? So it's understanding balance. Understanding that salt is the ultimate balance of salt and water and electrolytes and even the sugar. But remember, when you have so much sugar issues, so many fatty acids in your body, because you have fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals, and that's your biochemistry. When you have a lot of fatty acids, you're not saying altogether just stay away from sugar, but lessen your sugar intake and do more of the J juice. If somebody is so underweight and they have lack of calories and lack of fatty acids, then they want to either eat more of the gluten and the carbohydrates and some sugar stuff, or add syrup to the J juice after it's been fermented to get the calories. And that's what Mari B. Fuller, she's the one that has that COVID channel, the testimony for Jilly juice and the COVID. She added blueberry syrup because she's very underweight, and the COVID was destroying her, along with her heart attack issues, her cardiovascular issues that happened prior to the J juice. Okay, and so she added blueberry syrup to the J juice, and then she steadily is gaining weight. And she lives in the South, and she she works really hard. She does labor intensive work. She needs to have something like the J juice to give her back her strength so she can help her husband run a business. Her and her husband run a business together. She has kids, she has a family, she has, all these dreams and aspirations for herself and her children, and she wants to be around for them. I mean, I'm driving my car this morning going to Starbucks. I really wanted to go to Starbucks this morning, which I have my little Starbucks. I have my leaded drink. Do I need it? No, but I really like the sweetness, and I don't drink a lot of sweet stuff. But sometimes it's like a treat to me because I'm going to be working my book today, so I want more of the energy. And so I'm like enjoying my drive, listening to music, going like, my God, people say that they want to die, they expect to die. And how can you not enjoy just these little moments of driving and listening to music and driving in a cool car, and it's beautiful out, it's early in the morning, relatively. And, and this is it's just a beautiful world out here. How can someone want to die in this world? My God. You really have to be that messed up to expect to die. Can't wait. I mean, that's why it galls me when people say, oh yeah, life is short, play hard. Life is short, here's a bucket list. Oh my God, talk about speaking death into existence when you say, oh yeah, bucket list. There's a way to regenerate yourselves at the micro level. So that way at the macro level stays intact, and then you won't have a need for reproduction, and then going into the love and hate and reproduction and having a billion babies and finding love and getting your heart broken and all these things that go along with this craziness in our society. Okay, because yes, that's where a lot of the issues stem from, is the people's hormones are so imbalanced, and then they're taught that they must find a husband, which I can understand. If you can't make it on your own, that you need to find somebody to help you. But now people can make it on their own, but they still want to find a mate because they want to go and mate and have a bunch of kids. Okay, but then comes all of the drama when it comes to hormones being out of whack, because the chemistry was great in the beginning, and then it may taper or conditions change, and people don't know how to evolve with each other, and then it becomes a whole thing. And that's where divorce comes in, and that's where all these different misunderstandings come in. And that is what runs our society, and why we have the court and justice system, why we have all these different family services and family agencies, because the reproduction is fraught with so much. It can be so great, right, for some people, okay, until conditions change. And that's what sucks, is that you don't know when those conditions are going to change. And it's like either, you evolve with each other with the right chemistry, bring in the right chemistry so you can evolve together simultaneously. One person is evolving, the other person is not, and then the other person really has to find a way to measure up or measure down, one of the two. Okay, but that's kind of the whole nature of the J juice, is when you must learn how to adapt to your environment, because not everyone's going to do J juice, and you understand just how people operate, and it'll be a little bit like, okay, but But everything becomes predictable when you're on the J juice and you know how people operate and they're looping and looping and looping, and you realize that's kind of what's going to happen and stay that way. And just whatever, you just keep, your life changes, but you understand that that's the choices that other people make and you really can't stop them. And so you be supportive. And that's one of the biggest things in J juice is you don't feed into all the drama, and then you're supportive to those that you have an investment in. And so that's what I'm learning is being supportive to those I have an investment in and not feed into the drama. I'm not going to be anybody's karma, and no one should be my karma. I'm my own karma. I mind my own business. Part of me can kind of take a little pleasure in watching people create their own karma. Just a little bit of pleasure, just because I know how much I had to deal with so much BS a couple of years ago. And then we just keep moving on to the next thing. Okay? It's always, the J juice is you're always trying to top yourself. Whatever it is, you top yourself. And you keep topping yourself. And so it's okay to chill out and take a nap and do whatever. But I mean, when you have energy and you have life, you're going to want to apply it to somewhere or something. Like when I was, I've been tired the last week, but I actually bounced back yesterday. But when my body needs to rest, I give it rest. Then when it's time to produce and be energized, I take it to the next level. And it's just an ebb and flow and fluctuate and adapting to the conditions and just rolling with everything. And then it becomes, and then when things come out from left field or right field or whatever, then it's like you can handle it. And by the way, FedEx did not get my book until Saturday. So Saturday, the 27th, I think, is when I'll get my book. So FedEx is backed up. They have the whole COVID-19 thing. All right. So, I'm glad to see new people in my group. This guy, Paul, he's new in my group. And, I don't know where he came from. He came from somewhere. But he tried the J juice for the first time last night. Said it was salty. Of course it was. And, another person brought into this fold to be some kind of voice out there. And he's already pretty well versed in almost everything. I mean, he seems like he knows just as much as I do as far as all the conspiracy stuff, the mainstream stuff. Still, he's still in the conspiracy stuff, but that's okay. I mean, it's a transition. But at some point, we lose all of that fascination. And then it just, it's interesting. Like I watch him like, okay. But then it ceases to really become a focus. But hey, if that's a focus for some people, that's fine. I don't care. They can compartmentalize and keep it in their world. But yeah, the J juice world is where we're actively really changing our biochemistry to where our focuses are going to be different at some point. And then we start seeing things through a different biochemistry, which is going to change then almost every aspect of our life. And then you start taking on new talents and taking on new ideas. And hell, I don't know what